Well, hey there. If you guys can tell, we are having way too much fun on set here at my apartment in Portland. Here with Eli Willsea, Forlorn Empire in the house.
Heyo.
Eli, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a wild night, but I'm down to get into some fun conversations.
Yeah, we have been having all sorts of fun with video troubleshooting a new camera, but we'll see how this works.
We'll see how it works.
So, Eli, origin story as a
story.
builder.
Yes.
What makes you click?
Okay. I was actually raised on a planet called Brick. And no, I'm just kidding. I was born like a normal person. But my Lego origin story, I started off my first interaction with the Lego company, you might say, although I didn't see it as a company then, just as a Duplo brick, was Duplo. And so I played with Duplo. We had a big old yellow Duplo bus full of basic bricks and little cars. And so I grew up on Duplo. And then went into my dark age.
Ooh.
Playmobil.
Ooh, what? How old were you when you went into this dark age?
Oh man, probably like 5, maybe 4. I don't know.
Is that the youngest ever dark age on record?
Straight out of Duplo into the Playmobil. No, we had a lot of fun with Playmobil. It was a lot of storytelling and stuff, but less building. So in a sense, it was a good stepping stone from Duplo, which is just your basic. Well, when you're that age, it's just stacking and stuff. And kind of throwing and smashing. Smashing Duplo is fun. But, yeah.
I can see that.
Playmobil was a lot of storytelling and building giant bases for our Playmobil guys. And, like, smashing. Oh, it was still smashing. Because we had some Playmobil trains. And it was fun to set up. We never had Lego trains. But Playmobil trains, you'd set up a big course. Put your guys on. Oh, we're just crossing the rails. Turn it to full speed. So that was a lot of fun. It's not endorsing murder on the tracks, but bandits and outlaws, it happens. Okay, moving on to the Lego of it all.
What would you say before we move on? Any takeaways, any specific lessons learned coming from Playmobil into Lego mock building?
Yeah, so Playmobil taught me a lot about, I sort of mentioned storytelling. So my brothers and even sister and I, we had a lot of Playmobil growing up because that was provided to us as a toy, and we would just create adventures with them, and you'd drive them around or they'd go do different adventures. So it was less the creative side, more like the imagination.
The role play and the narrative and just the action aspects of that. That's cool. So what brought you back to the Lego hobby?
The Lego hobby. So basically,
the Duplo ages, then Playmobil, then I'm assuming System came.
System came in as we were getting older and couldn't swallow the pieces, or wouldn't swallow. I mean, we probably still could.
The new ABS challenge.
No. This is not recommended.
ABS plastic.
Yeah. So we started getting Lego sets, more construction kits, and so we just got to start creating a lot more, or learning to create. First, it was just following sets, of course, but eventually, I especially turned toward creating my own bases again, but out of Lego this time, and there was so much more customization. Yeah. And so you take the storytelling aspects that we had fun with in Playmobil, but now we could create anything we wanted to.
More open-ended, the system.
Yes. So my first mocks, because they were my own creations, weren't polished or anything, but they were just extensions and, I guess, sets for the stories I wanted to tell.
Yeah. Any particular stories you found yourself inspired by, kind of vibing off of more frequently than others?
We always did a lot of, we each had our own, place, and then there was a central shop. We called it the pawn shop. We didn't really know what a pawn shop was, but we knew you could buy all the cool stuff there. And so that would be where all the minifig accessories were at. And then we kind of treated a lot of our first storytelling or games or play sessions similarly to how a Lego video game would work, where you're going around fighting guys for their studs, which was the currency or the crystals, and or their valuable items, and if there was a guy across the room, well, obviously the floor is an ocean, so you got to build yourself a boat or some way of transportation over there. You couldn't just teleport.
Ooh.
So that was a fun challenge we would do.
Nice. So like the OG Lego Star Wars video games, like the Traveler's Tales
exactly.
style, like mid-2000s onward. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really neat. So that kind of inspired and shaped your early building. What are your goals, broadly speaking, for mock building? Maybe then, but now, how has that transitioned into, because you build very detailed, very colorful, very picturesque. You're very prolific, kind of cross-genre. So
yeah, well, my
goals
and the stuff I've built has vastly changed over the years, especially since I started getting really into mock building specifically and trying to create not just rainbow creations, but models that look real or at least tell a different story that's more cohesive. So my goals, one of my main goals has been always to build something beautiful, or push the limits of what I could do with Lego. Build something that's beautiful to me, that I can relate with, and that others can relate with. And then there's probably other goals in there, but those were the first two that came to mind. I know when I first started mock building like 11, 12 years ago, I kind of lose track. It might even be more than that. Obviously, the first stuff was just to see if I could do it. And then how could I get up to a level where I could create whatever I wanted. Because at first I didn't believe I could do anything besides like the random cars or rainbow creations I started out with. But the more I tried stuff, or the better I got and the more comfortable I was feeling to widen or broaden my the range of builds I could do.
That's neat.
Or the styles of builds. So that's why I build like all sorts of different things today, because I like doing all the different things. I like the challenge of it, seeing if I can do it, and then also basically that.
I'm blown away by the variety of things that people such as yourself come up with seemingly all the time, and I've been more of a specialist in a very niche replica building genre in my particular case. Any advice you would have for somebody who maybe our audience, you're more used to building in a particular area, a particular genre? What kind of advice would you give somebody looking to broaden their horizons, their building styles?
Yeah. Just try it. I think find something that you really enjoy, or something that really inspires you, and then just try something else.
Yeah.
Like for for instance, you build a lot of replicas, real life things, swords, weapons, all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah. Which I've never tried before.
They're not all like inanimate objects, but they do tend to be more on the grayscale end, I would say.
But I have mistaken that for a real cat at least 3 times tonight, and it's kind of like, why is it? Oh, come on. So, good job, Cole.
Thank you, Eli.
It's an accurate replica, at least to me. But yeah, just try something new. So you build in that genre or that more category where I've never tried it before. And for me, it would be like, oh, that looks awesome. The work you do is awesome. I want to give it a try. And so like you could see something else that you would like and just give it a try. I mean, that's kind of like such an obvious advice to give, actually.
Well, it must be because it's true.
Yeah.
You're not misleading us here by telling us something that's not true. So,
for instance,
trying things is good.
I'm like trying to give an example. I just did a for instance and ended up nowhere. But I guess scale is like a huge thing you could play with. First off, you got the minifig scale. If you build replicas, so that's like to real life scale. Typically
1-to-1, yeah.
Just go to do a Lord of the Rings mock with your minifigs. Like, how do you do that? But not just like in the palm of your hand. Build it a little bit bigger, and like that makes you think differently. Like, oh, now I have to worry about architecture that's scaled to this minifigure, or at least landscape. Or
what do you include? What don't you include?
Yeah, composition is different than you would with the replica.
The whole scope and the constraints shift.
Correct.
So how would you describe your design process?
Yeah. Basically, start off with something that inspires me. Sometimes I'm motivated by contests, which is really nice because I love doing contests because it's a clear defined goal that I'm going towards, and then I just have to come up with something creative within that like restriction. But if I'm doing a freeform build, I kind of go back to the core things that like make me feel like things that I like, core identities, I guess. No, that's not the word, but like for like a music for example, music really inspires me. Like it's very beautiful to me, and so I want to build something beautiful. So when I go to create something new on my own, it's often like I'm really inspired by something I'm listening to. Like I listen to like Owl City, or he has a side project, Sky Sailing, that's very lullaby but like dreamy lyrics, and that really gets my imagination going and making me want to build something beautiful. And then I'm having like thoughts of sailboats and like the seashore and like these pastel colors and stuff, and then that kind of I go either, and then I just like imagine it and I just start at something, and so usually it's something small and then I build out from there, like a boat or a tree design that really fits the aesthetic that I have in my mind.
That's really neat. I also grew up on Owl City, and when you reference Adam Young's work, I'm getting the colors, I'm getting the textures. It's all kind of just, it floods right in, which I think says a lot about, because I see that come out through the Lego bricks in your work, and that's really neat that you have such an immediate inspiration element in music, something that some people would consider less than tangible because it's more what you listen to, but really it does translate quite tangibly, quite concretely to Lego bricks as you let that flow.
Absolutely.
If that's the right term.
Yeah, no. When I listen to music like that, it transports me. When I'm really, I don't know, I just like I connect with it on a different level, and that just, it's an inspiration that I don't really get anywhere else. But not to say that you can't get inspiration from anywhere else, because I also build,
that's where you get it, which is meaningful.
That's where I get the stuff that I love to build the most, like the best.
Ooh.
But I also sometimes start my design process with concept art, and
like
that's
sketches,
like sketches or like renderings, like or like video games or like books, or even sometimes just like pictures from other cultures and stuff.
Do you go looking for reference, or does it find you?
Often it's me going and looking for it, and just discovering it on the way. It's rare, I'd say, that I see something and then want to build it.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know why, maybe it's just because I live in a bland place that doesn't inspire me and I look elsewhere. But I mean, definitely nature inspires me.
Yeah.
But I don't go home and like build a waterfall in a tree just because I saw it that day. It's like, I guess it has to have more story built into it than just that. Like I'll appreciate the elements of those and the beauty of like how water sprays or like how light hits something. But it's not like that's the whole picture that I want to build.
Now you've talked already in this interview about beauty in mock building, and I'm assuming that's a large part of what satisfies you about a given mock. Can you elaborate a little bit more on how you focus in on particular details to bring the overall impression, beauty, excellence to bear on a given piece?
So one of the things that I do a lot in my builds is I try to go for a very smooth look, which feels more polished to me, and in that in itself is beauty. So a lot of my builds I use snot a lot, stud snot on top, so I try to hide a lot of the studs in this. It's very intentionally used. Some mocks are different, and you use studs as texture, but for the most part,
it's intentional though when you do that.
It's usually intentional. But yeah, I try to keep a lot of it polished, no studs, and that just feels complete to me and correct. and it has a visual satisfaction, and a lot of curves as well.
Why is it that generally studless or stud-free building is more compelling in that way? Do you find studs are more of a visual distraction? Like when we see them, we think unfinished or messy, or?
I think you're getting right at it as part of it. Is that, to me, the studs are the construction side of things. So that's how you piece together the artwork. You don't really go and see a house and there's nails sticking out of it everywhere, or like, or there's just like a 2x4 just across the front, or just like the whole ground is covered with like, I don't know, cans of paint. That, like, you clean that up and present the house complete, and like it looks good. And to me, that's me clearing away the studs. It's like, oh, there's my workspace, let me clear it up and present the final product.
Nice. So in a way, you're trying to not just build a final product, you're trying to guide your viewers' perception of that product. Like, their experience itself, would you say that is part of the work too? The way they see what you're making is itself part of what you're making?
I think so. There's other factors of it as well. As in, like, to me, it helps my build stand out more, because a lot of people, like, I mean, the whole Lego system is stud based,
right? And it's probably what most people are used to thinking of when they think about Lego.
Yeah, when they think
studded.
Agreed. I agree.
The knobs, the bumps, the raised bits, of course, on the Lego bricks we play with.
So part of it is rewarding that mine stands out in that regard, because it's breaking the system in a way, but still using the system.
Breaking the system.
It's illegal.
What happens when you break it?
Yeah, we're not breaking actual pieces here. No. Unless you go to the chopping block.
Have you broken a lot of physical Lego pieces in your chopping block video episodes? For those who haven't seen Eli's Forlorn Empire Lego YouTube vlog channel, if I'm saying that all correctly, describing it, he has some pretty epic deconstruction videos for his models.
Yeah, this guy comes over and he just, like, I don't know, he goes crazy.
Do you know this guy, or is he just like random stranger guy walks and starts destroying things? Brother! That's concerning, man.
Yeah, man.
I hope that doesn't happen to my builds. Just comes in and whack.
No, unfortunately. Okay, anyway.
We need to set up a neighborhood watch for this guy.
We don't
like, have him be the new face of this. Anyway,
what was the question?
We were talking about studs and how they're perceived on Lego mods, because it's such a baseline part of Lego building from when we were presumably all kids, and that's when we were first into Lego. That's as I really like how you put it, the construction side, the behind the scenes, the nails,
so it's that's right. I was mentioning that I like the fact that it's different than what everybody else does. It stands out. But the other thing I was going to say is that it also it's a challenge, and that I enjoy the challenge. It's like a puzzle.
Question for you.
Yeah.
If everybody else started going studless, would you still do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
So it has a value separate from the standout factor.
Yeah.
And is that smooth refinement quality you are trying to focus what people are looking at, what they're not looking at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some examples of times that you would go studded? Because you mentioned you do that sometimes. It's deliberate.
I just said like 25
I need to shut up and ask more open-ended questions is what's going on.
For instance, if I'm building a landscape and I have the path is smooth, because that's where I want your eye to be drawn, because that's where a lot of the action is going to be happening. That's where the minifig is going to be, or whatever. because it's guiding you towards the main subject of the build.
I'm gonna keep saying yeah now.
Perfect. We'll just trade yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, there's two things. The practical thing is you need to have studs open to place all the foliage on.
Mm-hmm.
But the second part is if you've ever walked out in the woods and not just stayed in your basement building Legos like me. Sorry, I said Legos. Oh no, I'm becoming Grant. Oh gosh, no. I would leave studs underneath the foliage.
This is where the First Amendment comes in. Sorry, Lego legal. Fair play agreements or not.
That's just slipped right in there. I don't know where it came from.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I said Lego. Anyway, I would leave studs in for added texture underneath the leaves because the ground is textured. It's not flat or even at all. Like a path would more be, and then it depends on what type of path you're going for. If concrete, obviously snotted and smooth. If it was like a dirt path, I'd mix snotted and studs because it's texture there. That's more of like an outdoor landscape build. Studs are a lot more accepted out there. But in contrast, any subject in a landscape like that, I would want to be perfectly smooth as much as possible and use other parts to add the texture. That's because cool. Then it's a contrast.
Studs also kind of have that built-in grid to them, reflective of the base system. You see this regular repeating pattern in studs, and you're immediately taken out of, oh, this isn't as organic. This is a repeating pattern. This is a grid. Grids are usually more construction and or machine oriented. So breaking that up with slopes and with, jumper plates even are great for disrupting your eye.
Yeah, exactly. It's like part of what I do is try to break or create an illusion that is not based in a square system or a grid, like you said. Make it feel more natural and flowing, and because of that, it becomes elegant. And yeah,
elegant's a pretty big word to use for a Lego toy one plays with in the basement. Tell me about the meaning beyond our own, because we're Lego fans, beyond just our enjoyment of Lego because it's a Lego toy. Tell me about the feeling, what do you get out of Lego besides fun with Lego because it's Lego?
I get a feeling of like an outlet for my creativity, and there's a satisfaction when something is complete and finished. And I don't know. For me as a Christian, like in my output, my creativity, I want to create something excellent like my creator. And so I see my Lego like work as a reflection of what he's done. And so to be able to have that relation like that and saying I've been designed this way to create this way, it's not just a random like skill that I've built up myself. It's like kind of in me. Then I see that as way more beautiful than, and like there's a purpose behind it instead of just, creating for being the best of the best or just trying to get in an art gallery or something.
Not that we're dissing on art galleries by any means. No. I love how these conversations facilitate the opportunity to take a question like that. And here I thought I was going, I'm going to stump you with a broad question. And you took that to where these neat conversations often go. I'm a Christian too. And one of the fun things that we have in common, the shared love for Jesus Christ because of how he died and rose again to save us. And then from the big important things like that to our favorite toy hobby.
Yeah.
Like really, Lego is a fascinating conduit of all parts of life. The music we listen to, the books we read, and our worldview on that kind of deeper level. It all can come together, play well together in the sense of this very open-ended toy medium. So that's really cool that plays into your work as well, and just the way you appreciate and you find meaning in that as a broader extension of this creativity you see designed into the rest of this world.
Yeah,
that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
So what would you say, bringing it back down again, because I was like, whoa, really good stuff right there.
We
dove deep, we went high, we went broad, and Micah White Man, are you watching? Listening? We're thinking of you more broadly.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to recompose myself.
All right. You said we're going back up.
You talked about you talked about contest building as a pretty fun goal and a challenge, and something that can inspire you through those constraints, those more black and white objectives.
Yeah.
How would you say it otherwise differs from normal building if you're doing competitive building? What mindset do you get yourself in?
You gotta hype yourself up.
Yeah? How do you do that?
You gotta,
more paint?
You gotta get inspired.
Yeah?
You gotta be like, I'm gonna beat everybody.
Ooh. I mean, if you
create something great.
Yeah.
But to do well in a contest, you need to want to do it, and then you just do it. Simple as that. All right, cut. I'm just kidding.
Mic drop on that one.
You need to want to do it, and you just need to do it.
All right. So assuming people want to, and they're not used to.
Depends on the type of
building
contest.
Right.
If it's a time contest, where it's like speed is included.
Yeah.
Then that's gonna be different than if it's just like an open-ended contest with a category.
How do you deal with the pressure? Say speed. Clock's ticking, man.
Clock's ticking.
Faster.
You sit down.
Faster.
You set out your concept idea first, and then your goal, and then you stick with it, because you don't have time to change. You have time to iterate on that idea to make it better as you're going, but you got to commit to it.
To the initial concept, the core. Okay.
Yep.
You don't have time to keep messing around with that as you're building.
No, because if you change that halfway through, then your final product is not going to be as good.
Why is that?
Because you haven't had enough time to really invest in the core of it, in the story, in like the actual design, and then you're tired.
I mean, Will Arnett makes the Lego Masters people change what they're building all the time.
Yeah, because he's evil.
Evil Will. I thought regular Will did that. Are you saying regular Will is evil?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm doing both characters, man.
No, changing the direction halfway through.
Yeah. So how does that, like? Because you can start off with a particular idea, and what if you discover a different story?
If it's worth it, then if it's better, then it's worth it. And if you can do it, you got to learn your limits. I think that's a huge important aspect of contests. But it's also sometimes you don't know your limits.
I'm gonna have to push back on you there. I thought Lego building was limitless in its imagination. What are you telling me? Is
in the real world, there's limits, and you can't build whatever you want to.
Is that a good thing that there are limits?
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
Because there's boundaries to what you can and can't do. And which helps you eliminate stuff that you would, so you don't waste time, basically.
So, what is Lego design at its best? Is it defined by limits or defined by overcoming them?
Okay, so we're leaving contests behind?
No, we will come back to that.
Okay.
I'm just curious, as a general philosophy of design, yeah.
Is it defined by limits?
Is it defined by limits or breaking past them? And you can interpret that question a few different ways, I suppose. But
I'd say it's a little both.
Yeah.
Because you have to have limits that you need to. If you want to break past them, there have to be limits to begin with. I'm trying to like think of this in terms of Lego. Like, if nobody's ever done a certain thing before, that's... I don't even know where I'm going with this thought, actually.
So are you saying there has to be a rule or a precedent set as a reference point for you to then go beyond? There has to be something there to go beyond in terms of...
It seems like it.
Okay. How would that apply to a contest then? I'll bring that back in. Are you competing with other people or are you competing with yourself?
It's a little bit of both. In my mind, every contest that I do, I'm trying to be better than the last time. Or be better
than you the last time, or be better than the other people
last better time, than me both? The last time, and better than the other people. And hopefully by me being better than the last time, that is better than the other people. But of course, the LEGO community is very... we love supporting each other. And so I'm really just cheering on my teammates as well, or contestants, not teammates, fellow competitors, because I love to see what they build. I want to see them push the limits as well. Obviously, it's awesome if I can win or like do well in the contest, but I think going in with a mindset of wanting to do my best or doing my next best, then it doesn't matter the results because I'm satisfied with what I've done.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. That's
really good. How do you suggest that people go deeper in their Lego building?
I think you have to have a desire to learn, and if you want to go deeper, and you have to have a desire to tell a story, I think. Even if it's not like a fleshed out story. I'm not saying you need to have like paragraphs down in your Flickr description. I don't think anybody reads those. But if it helps you create a better story that's more compelling to show visually and build visually, then do it. But if your build can't stand without paragraphs underneath, I don't think you're really going deep as you could.
Are you saying that the build needs to stand on its own more in terms of conveying that story?
I'd say Lego's a visual medium, a visual 3D medium, like artwork medium, that it shouldn't just be a nothing. It needs to tell a story, and you need to see the story.
Yeah.
Or at least be able to interpret something out of it without other like input. And so I think, especially in a contest, that's extremely valuable, because if the contest is calling for a limit or a description and you don't need that for your build to stand on its own, but it also just helps it, then it's going to be another step higher than the other people in the contest, because they're just building something that fits the description and not necessarily stand on its own. But if it does both, that's going deeper.
Have you ever been surprised, and this doesn't have to be in a contest, it's like the judges, but have you ever been surprised by a reaction to your models that you weren't expecting? Because you build, presumably you build models for yourself, but you're also building them for the enjoyment of others, because you're posting them online all the time. You derive some enjoyment, I assume, from building and then from sharing them. Then maybe you're actually building it for the audience, specific to a contest or a commission piece or what have you. Have you ever been surprised by somebody telling you what they took away was not what you necessarily expected to tell as a story, or what you thought they'd come away with? If not, that's okay. I'm curious.
Sometimes I'm trying to think, because my brain immediately goes to thinking about how people will like critique a build, rather like how it's built rather than what I'm trying to tell with the build.
Oh, so the how rather than the what or even the why?
Yeah, where it's almost like I wanted a different response in the fact that I wanted you to like take something away from the build rather than just like compliment me how I did the build or like what I could have done better in the build. Because I think everybody is always like, nobody's perfect. Nobody's gonna have the perfect build unless you're Jonas Kram.
Shout out to Jonas.
And so everybody, like, nobody's gonna have the perfect build, but like,
except Jonas.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like pointing out stuff that they could have done differently. I feel like there's places for that,
Uh-huh.
but it shouldn't be like directly on the artwork. Like if you find those groups, if I'm not saying like you shouldn't give people critique, because I think critique's important, but I think there's appropriate places to do that. That's kind of a whole nother subject on its own.
That's really interesting, because
not that I'm begging for compliments or anything. It's just that's not. I'm saying that was something that surprised me. That wasn't like a response.
That's not really a conversation that's been had to the degree which I'm aware in the community, in terms of a different time and place for critical feedback versus general audience reactions to the main takeaway. Because normally you'll see all of that in one place. You'll see compliments, critiques, you'll see engagement with the story versus focused completely on how you're technically achieving that in the medium. Like, that's all bundled together. That's a really interesting idea, to separate them out more than just, say, you have these predefined groups, group chats, discords, servers, and or other media. That's really interesting. Do you think there should be more of that separation?
Like, I don't want to come across as like, I guess, like snooty about it or anything like that. It's just something I've observed. But I feel like a separation of that it feels more healthy to me when I see it happen that way. Because it's like you form better friendships with your peers or the people that you're really sharing how you create something together. Yeah. And that builds better relationship there, and you're actually helping each other. And if like other people want to come in and ask you outside of like the main like place you're presenting your stuff, your Lego, like it feels better, I guess. It's like I want to help those people. But if they just comment, for instance, on like the photo, and I don't have a specific like scenario in mind, but it's like it almost feels like I don't want to. I would love to help you or like have a conversation with you, but this doesn't feel like the right place to do it. It's like in comments right there.
That makes sense.
You know?
That makes sense.
It's like I'm always open to learn, and like you're like, oh yeah, maybe I should have done that differently, or that would have looked better. But like now everybody who's seen my thing is also seeing that, and they're like, then they're going to interpret the build based on that rather than how I wanted them to see the build.
So then it almost goes back towards the beginning of this conversation. We were talking about studs and how those affect a person's perception of a build and the degree to which it's elegant. Now, in this case, people are seeing perhaps critical comments, which may or may not be relevant to the build itself. Let's assume that they are, but everybody will now see your work colored through this question or this comment or this suggestion for what else it could be rather than what it is as you have presented it. That's a really interesting take.
And maybe there's no like solution to that, or like it's not even that big a deal, but like this conversation kind of made me think about that more, and I was like, like it's a thing that happens, and maybe just it may affect the way that I design going forward or whatever.
Well, there's
keeping that in mind,
a level of respect that can be paid to an artist's original work, and in terms of the art world in general, I'm aware of debates around the bull statue they have on Wall Street, for example, where another artist came along and put a completely different sculpture opposite that original sculpture. And now there have been lawsuits and heated debates in terms of, is it okay to come along and change the perception of the original artist's work by setting it up to be a bad guy, say, in contrast to a different, I'm not sure if you're aware of the particular art piece I'm talking about. There's a Wall Street art installation, and to my knowledge, both pieces, the original and the response piece, both still stand to this day, and there's still all this conversation about it in terms of ethics and in terms of artist's original intent.
Yeah, part of me, why I'm like hesitant to like be firm or like say anything like, right, this is how it should be, is because it's like at the end of the day, to me it like, doesn't really matter.
Are you saying that there's
Like
you don't take Lego seriously all the time?
No.
What?
I take it seriously, but it's like at sometimes you just got to be like, it's not that big of a deal. It's like not worth causing like destruction in relationship or anything like that with other people for. It's like, let's just move on and build something new.
Would you say that that's, and I'm not trying to lead the witness here, I would love to focus on the role of relationships within the Lego hobby. To what degree is it a artistic medium in the individual sense versus it's a social medium? It's a way that is it primarily one or the other? Is it something we do as, say, part of the way that God made us, or is it something that we primarily do as a way that we interact with others? I'm assuming it's both.
It's both.
Is it one or the other more, depending on what it is?
I think it's true. It's depending on what it is. You're right, but I almost feel like Lego is almost strongest in community. Solo has its place, I think, and certain people. Like for me, I'm more of an introvert, and I would almost attribute my social to Lego. So I started out solo and like just doing my own things, but then like when I first got into mock building, I met Grant Davis, and then that was two of us working and then discovering the community from there, and then it's grown and I have so many friends now. Cole and all sorts of people, even Michael Weidman, if you can believe it.
Speaking more broadly, I am very thankful for my friendship with you and for Lego's role in that, for sure.
Yeah, not saying that like solo isn't, like there's times to be solo, and that's how you like get better yourself or learn things, but then you do it because you want to share it with others and then connect with them.
You go away and then you come back with, hey, look what I did. Yeah. Surprise.
And then collaboration from there. You're like, collaboration is awesome. And you can create really cool stuff with that. And it's just, you have tons of fun hanging out. And conventions. And I mean, Brick World Chicago is going on right now.
Yep.
And that's
the time of this recording.
Once you're you've become an AFOL and you're in the community more, or even a TFOL. Like you look forward to those. KFOL. Or, yeah.
How many other acronyms? There are a lot of them.
Any FOL.
Yes.
Fan of Lego. You kind of see those community gatherings, like conventions, as like, that's what I'm looking forward to. Because it's like, it's so much, like Lego's awesome. I'm doing it here at home and I'm meeting with the people locally. But when you get together as a huge group, it's just so much fun because it's about the people ultimately sharing through basically their art, but they're really there to hang out with each other.
Yeah. And push comes to shove, if we were to make this a matter of, it's the individual versus, it's the relationships. It sounds like it's relationships at the end of the day are what I would say life is about.
Yeah. Not
just Lego.
Yep.
And so we hope that anything we accomplish as individuals, we can celebrate together, that we can encourage each other. And yeah, we're not going to take ourselves and our toys so seriously that it's going to be at the end of the day more important than relationships are going to snub anybody and whatnot. It's sad when that happens because it's like such a missed opportunity to connect on a deeper, more meaningful, personal level with people and really build each other up.
Yes.
But yeah,
yes,
it's really fun, and that, I know for me, it's like there are a lot of introverts in this hobby, and I would definitely say I started off as a very introverted person, and then I started going to conventions, and I started learning how to interact with the public. Thousands of people coming through a convention hall in a given weekend, and here I am going from a very quiet, focused Lego hobbyist to somebody like, I want to share what I've made with all these people because I love the smiles I'm getting on people's faces when they come by. And so there's that interaction there, and then now I'm opening up. Now I look like I'm a socialized introvert. Still an introvert. Still very nerdy, goofy.
Me too.
Over analytical. I don't know. I find Lego is such a fantastic way to grow in all these different parts of life: creativity, communication, social, art. We're having conversations about what art and beauty and meaning are predicated on Lego bricks as an example, which is hilarious and compelling to me and you at least at the same time. So there's a lot there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. It's just a product they're trying to make money off of.
And I think at the beginning of this interview, you touched a little bit in talking about when you started with Lego. You you mentioned, and I wasn't sure if we're going to cover this, jump into it at all, but you talked about Lego as a brand rather than Lego as a toy. Is there a difference, or are they the same thing? Can you separate the toy from the brand?
The toy from the brand. They kind of go hand in hand in a way.
Lego lawyers are going to hate me for asking this question
anyway. I don't even feel qualified to answer this.
Right. We need to go get our doctorates and come back and have this conversation.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like you don't want to diss the brand because it's like they give us the Lego, right?
Right. So, we are very thankful to the brand, to the company, to the family who owns it still. But
in a sense, it's like, because I keep calling it an art form, they've given the world like a new medium to work in. Like it's plastic, but it's like it's not 3D printing. It's different. It's a system of like creation. And so it's like whether you like it or not, Lego is kind of separate from the brand. It's like I like don't really know how else to put it.
As if it's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah, it's almost like there's like a paint company who creates paint. Going back to paint. But like once you have, it's like a whole new medium, painting. Just because you made a painting doesn't mean the paint company owns that painting now. It's just a new way to express things, new system.
Hence the freedom.
Yeah. The
freedom I have to make replica swords and guns and whatnot out of Lego. Oh.
Give me all your Lego.
We have so much fun making so many different things. In that sense, Lego is, I won't say unlimited, I'll say less than limited in its building creative potential.
Yeah.
And quite rewarding. So, wrapping this up, what excites you about the hobby and where it's going?
There's a lot that excites me. There's some things that worry me. But,
makes you want to go into that.
Yeah. Well, no. But maybe. There's a lot of new builders. You know, what's weird is growing up, starting as a TFL in the mocking community and learning and getting better and better into a place where I feel very comfortable with my portfolio of builds right now, and almost like I don't need to get better, even though I want to. It's always there to want to get better, but it's like I kind of feel settled now. But then to remember that there's all sorts of other builders who are back where I started and learning and growing now, and it's like that's exciting to me because they're still going through the process of learning that I did and I continue to do. But like, and so seeing other builders take inspiration from my stuff or my peers stuff, and like it can, at first I used to think like, ugh, they're copying me. I'm like, dude, that's what I did when I first started. I went and found the best builders I could, or the best builds.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Yeah, and I copied them, or at least I like took inspiration from them for my first builds or aspects of them. And so it's like I used to see it as sort of a negative thing, but now I see it in a new light. Like you said, it's a form of flattery, but it's also...
It still doesn't feel good when the Chinese companies do it.
If they copy it part for part. No, but if they copy like the style and it feels like, oh, this could be my build. But no, it's like they're learning their own voice in Lego, their own style.
Our fellow creatives.
Yeah.
Our fellow
And so why would I
enjoyers of the hobby? Yeah.
Why would I boo them or anything? I should encourage them, in fact, to like form their own style.
Yeah.
And it's okay because, I mean, honestly, if anybody copies my style, that's awesome because I love that style. So it's like, ooh, more.
You're somewhat partial to your style.
But I'm like, come here, Padawan. Let me teach you.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's exciting to see the new builders coming up. It's also exciting that we're getting a lot of newer elements that we've wanted from Lego, or just exciting new parts.
Goodness, there are so many. As somebody who somewhat recently came back from several years out of the hobby, I won't say out of the hobby, several years of not building as actively because I was in university and getting a career started and getting married, among other things. So then I came back and started buying. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. Thanks, man. I started buying and building more frequently and noticing so many new and very detailed and very small integral units more to work with in the system. It's not like I'm starting all over, but I think my brain is still catching up to all of the new combinations that you have with the new elements mixed with the older elements and mixed with the other new elements. I'm still reorganizing up here in my brain. If you're just listening to this, not watching it.
The mental storage.
Yeah, it's all being resorted still, and I'm hoping that we all continue to only find new and different ways to use the same stuff, thanks to this one new piece.
Yep. And I've heard conversations of people talking about that they feel that Lego is producing new parts too quickly, or there's too many of them. And I started to think that way, but then I think my opinion has changed because as there are more builders getting into the hobby, the more parts that are introduced, it means there's more, every part that's produced in Lego, as long as it fits in the system somehow, not just like, I don't know, a video piece or something, or like a junior's piece.
Snap.
It expands, it expands like the possibilities like crazy because it's like you don't know all the connections that could possibly be made.
It's exponential rather than just additive of a few instances.
So I used to be afraid that like, oh no, as more builders are becoming better and better, because I think they are as a whole, a lot more builders are getting better and better. Then all the cool techniques are gonna disappear. They're gonna hog them all, and it's like despair. Like, oh no,
a little tension rising up. Like, oh no,
they're gonna take all the good techniques. But it's like, no, there's so many more to be discovered with these new parts, and then there's even a lot older parts that are still even unused that you can find on Bricklink. Or Cole showed me a few today that I didn't know existed. And he's like, oh, by the way, have you seen these? That's so cool. And it's like twice as old as I am or whatever.
I think I keep learning and finding and discovering all these new techniques that newer builders than I continue to discover, and then they share it with me. Hopefully I'm able to share with them as I come up with stuff, but we all just keep working together and cross-pollinating, cross-collaborating, just this rubbing of shoulders and sharing of minds in that way makes it all that much bigger and better. Any concerns you're willing to share if you're able to articulate them in terms of maybe let's keep the positive spin on it. How can we mitigate against any potential, like how do we keep it growing in the positive sense?
Yeah, I think how we can keep it growing positively is kind of encourage or foster that encouragement of newer builders and builders who like borrow features of like your style, I guess, or like, because I think one of the most discouraging things is having somebody call you out for copying their techniques, or like, this isn't original, you copied off of this person, it's garbage. Which I've seen happen in like servers and stuff before, and I'm like, dude, this guy's like learning. He's like, Or like, it's okay to copy a technique. It's like, it's not, somebody doesn't own a technique once they've created it, and it's like, oh, you have to credit them every single time. It's like, no, that's a way of learning, is using it in a build, and you can use different things different ways. And so I guess just if you see stuff that's reused, that's either yours or somebody else's, it's like, it's okay. They're like, recognize those builders are in a process of learning, and I guess you can encourage, if anything, you could encourage them to branch out.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's try something different than some Star Wars clone bases. Let's, like, you're really good at, like, point out like what they're really good at. You're excelling in this. How about try this? Like your ground texture is amazing. What if you added like a giraffe? I don't know. It would look awesome. You don't need a clone there every time. Or I don't know. That's just
that sounds like some specific advice.
Getting a little specific.
Right there.
No, nothing wrong with Star Wars, but
interaction, and I would say for us older builders, if I can classify myself as such.
I'm old now. So sad.
Congratulations.
Where's the blue studs I can pour out of my eyes? I'm just kidding.
Well, it's something, at least personally speaking, I hope that something approaching mentorship in the sense of giving back, because obviously I've had a lot of people I have been inspired by, looked up to as I've gone along. I have been like, oh wow, I've learned so much from them. I hope that besides building my own stuff, discovering my own techniques and tricks and sharing that and having other people notice what I'm doing and build on from there, I'm hoping that as I have actual personal interactions and conversations and group chats and server boards, I hope that more of the one-to-one relationship can come into play, where I actually have the opportunity, I get to encourage and advise and suggest new ways that they can, like, give feedback in a way that it's mutually appreciated, that there's this opportunity for both people to grow. Not that I'm necessarily even further along, but I'm still a participant who's learning too. That together we're that much. You get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
Like, there's an intentionality though.
Yeah.
Is it pretentious to say mentorship? I don't know. I do want to be known for being helpful and being able to pass on to other people in that regard.
Yeah.
Whether that's formally structured or whether that's just a casual peer-to-peer friendship, one builder to another.
Yeah, and I think it looks different at different times.
Yeah.
But I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rather than becoming, like, forming cliques and staying in your, like, group of builders. But, like,
yeah.
Mentorship is, or reaching back. In a way. Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add? That's a lot to be excited about. In long story short, answer this is all the question: what excites you about where the hobby is going?
Oh yeah. I'm just excited to see what people build next. Yeah.
What are you building next, man? That you're like able to share?
That I'm allowed to say.
Yeah. It's classified.
Okay, I am. So apparently, there's a new Owl City album coming out, or there's rumors happening like right now of stuff coming out later in the year, and it's been a long time plan of mine to build one of his album artworks, and so I think I'm going to do one of those as a build log series on my YouTube channel, and so I'm really excited to build that. So
that's really cool.
That'll be something that's fun to tune into. Plugging my YouTube channel, so. But that, and then I got a bunch of other stuff. But there's some contests that are going on right now that I'm looking forward to throwing some builds into. I think the Summer Joust, so it's a castle themed contest.
That's coming up again.
I think it's already started.
And this summer, isn't it?
Apparently the Middle Earth Lego Olympics are restarting.
Oh,
next month.
Is this the first time that's I'm out of the loop, so sorry if this sounds really ignorant. Is this the first time since mock pages that Mello has been a thing?
Yes.
Okay, wow, that is significant.
Yeah, and so we don't know all the details yet, but I think they just dropped that July 1st they're opening either that Discord or something.
Yeah, that's
and so
2 weeks from today.
That's crazy. Yeah.
We'll see how quickly I get this interview posted. Yeah, wow, 2 weeks as of the day of recording this. It's all coming up.
Yeah, a lot of
That's
crazy.
exciting. So you're going to jump into a bunch of those?
Yep.
Clean up?
Hoping to do more YouTube Lego content. We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to do
Tell me about your YouTube experience. Because you're like I would call you an actual YouTuber. I'm a guy with some YouTube videos on a channel that I'm slowly building up. Well,
I wouldn't call myself an actual YouTuber, but I try to be a YouTuber. I feel like actual YouTubers actually make money doing it, and I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
yeah,
sort
that's
of,
fair.
but not on my channel. But like I'm intentional with my channel. I guess. I'm not that you're not, but
we're all somewhere on a path.
I mean, video. If I didn't do Lego, I think video would be my main hobby. I really enjoy editing. I enjoy being funny in the videos, and so you'll see that some of the content on my channel is just so random and very specific, but I had so much fun making it.
That carries through to people's enjoyment of it.
I hope
those
so.
who have been lucky enough to see it.
True. So, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to do more stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Try to mix fun with educational and really tap into that inspiration of others. I think YouTube's a great platform for that, for new builders to learn and be inspired and just have fun the whole way.
That's one of the things that excites me. Not that I know where all it's going, but seeing all the rising opportunities and new ways that people are finding to educate with the Lego brick. Whether that's teaching about Lego itself, how to use it differently, better, build those sorts of things, or whether it's teaching general life concepts using Lego as a tool is pretty amazing.
Yeah, there's it is limitless.
Hey.
Possibilities.
Well, thank you so much, man, for doing this with me. It was so great to be able to have at least another interview here at my Portland apartment. I may or may not do some kind of room tour for this thing before I tear it all down in the next few days, because I am moving to Tennessee and I'm going to miss seeing you.
No, but
we've both been here in Oregon for basically all of our lives, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And yeah, my wife and I are heading from the northwest to the southeast. So going to have to get together again online.
Yeah.
Keep this going. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me, Cole. And
it's a pleasure as always, man.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Let us know what you think of all this in the comments, and maybe what you'd like to see covered next.
Hit me with some of those critiques. No, don't.
That's the next thing I'm gonna go do, man.
Just go critique all
just
of my stuff.
Chat up a big wall of text. Eli. Boom, 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 boom.
This
boom.
is wrong. This is bad. I didn't get it. Well, don't say it right here. Anyway.
Bonus interview question for you.
Okay.
What do you appreciate most? And there could be some sarcasm in here, maybe, just maybe. Which is more helpful?
What are you asking?
Big wall of text outlining all the specific ways something could be better, and by implication, what's not great, or just 3 words. This is dumb. Like. Which is more painful, which is more helpful if you're going to get a critique. I don't know. Is that even the right question to ask? I'm just like...
What a funny question, though. If somebody said,
Because
this
you're
is
talking
dumb, I'd be like, okay. But if they had a paragraph, I'd read it, which it would be a little entertaining. But, like...
So you're saying even the longer stuff, at least that's thoughtful versus just and constructive.
Yeah, because I feel like
at best
it's a person who's trying to help, I guess, or at least wants to say something.
They care enough about it to
and
put the time into that
I would maybe
level of
redirect them to another way to tell me or like communicate. because that doesn't seem very appropriate. But
yeah, I mean that's a whole separate conversation.
Also,
I was just I had this thought like, what if they just like boom, done.
Now it's different if it's like in person at a convention.
Yeah.
Some kid comes up and says, "This is dumb," and I'm like, "Sorry, let's look at something else." But if he starts talking to me for like half an hour, then it's like, "Please leave." I don't know.
Keeping it real.
Keeping it real, kid.
Keeping it real.
What did you build?
Show me.
Yeah.
The longer we've been at it building, the more analytic feedback we can give.
Yeah.
And we always strive for what's positive and beneficial, obviously. So this has been a hoot, by the way. This has been really fun. All right.
It's true. You could have a whole nother podcast just on how to give feedback. Because we talked about how we get it, but not really how like we should give it as being in our position. But
you think we could do both? Do you think we could do a read mean tweets equivalent of the Lego hobby?
that's a good video idea.
And
It's like,
if you want to do that on your channel, that would be amazing.
probably want to keep the comments anonymous, but it would be, I mean, I think they do.
Yeah, we could switch to
That'd be funny.
reading mean Lego comments to this is how you engage the rest of the community as a fellow builder, as a participant, as a respectful human being.
Just kind of like give an example of how like a nice way to interact with each other is in this community.
And not that I'm an active member, but so probably ignorant here, but I am aware of there are Discord servers that are dedicated to mutual improvement for builders. Those are out there. I would highly recommend finding intentional spheres of influence where people are expecting and they're giving that kind of focused feedback. And if you're looking for that, you can find that.
Yep.
And you're building quality, and that's not just in terms of the builds, but your own enjoyment and experience in the Lego community. That will only increase, improve, grow dramatically as you've engaged at a deeper level.
Agreed. Yeah, I would say if anything, find somebody who's at your same level and basically ask them to like work with you and just form a relationship of feedback and critique in a positive, constructive way. I mean, that's how I started.
Multiple meanings there.
That's how I started with Grant, and it's iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And you grow together in respectful ways and create epic stuff.
I keep coming up with extra questions, so this is bonus round here, folks.
Bonus round. Can we relax now?
At ease.
At ease.
If somebody, let's say somebody has been following you for a long time.
Yeah.
Somebody is inspired by you. They look up to you. Their words, not yours necessarily, but let's just say they're a newer builder. And they are really compelled by your work. And they want to engage with you personally, not just enjoy the work, but they want to talk to you. And maybe they really want help, not just on a same level, peer-to-peer. They want your feedback. If they're going to ask you for that, how should they ask you for that?
Yeah, I've had a few people ask me for stuff, and it really depends. Yeah, it really is different on the way you ask, because I mean,
you're probably really busy.
I'm pretty busy.
So how can they show that? How can they be thoughtful? I mean, obviously just being thoughtful is a step that's, I'm assuming everybody watching this would try that step.
Yeah, be thoughtful and don't demand. Just be like, hey, I want to learn this.
So no sense of entitlement.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Okay.
It's just like
it is the worst.
Show me that like you're wanting to learn, and then it makes me want to help you.
Yeah.
And then don't expect me to be your mentor for like on call, basically on speed dial. Because I don't think anybody has time for that unless you pay us.
I have a desire, but not necessarily the bandwidth to mentor in certain ways. And that's going to look different, not just between, say, the older mentor, senpai sorts, but that's going to look different between any given pairing of older, newer builder, or whatever that relationship.
If I can give an example, I want to say, like, for me, it was Simon Liu was one of the people who I could reach out to once I got more comfortable knowing him over a few years and be like, hey, can you give me feedback on how I'm photographing this? Because I don't understand photography completely. And then he had time to, like, write a message back that, like, then I could jump off of, or, like, then ask my peers on my level, Grant, because then it's still now Simon is above us in my mind. And then we could, like, use that as a reference point. But I wasn't, like, doting on Simon.
Yeah.
Like, yo, I need this. It didn't work. Help.
Right.
Because it's like he doesn't have time for that.
You aren't asking him to hold your hand.
Yeah.
You were humbly making a request, minimal expectations, just kind of a mutual respect.
Yeah, and
thoughtfulness.
Like it just builds a better relationship in that regard. This has almost turned into, like, how to have a good relationship conversation.
Well, and that's really important to have.
Because now Simon and I are, like, really great friends. And it's like I never would have expected that.
Oh.
Not because from where I started when I first met him, I was like, oh, such an idol in my, like, such a cool guy.
And it's fun when you get to meet people that
and it's like
you're inspired by.
Be cool and then put in the work yourself. You know?
It's all, at the end of the day, you got to put in the work.
Yeah.
Period. All right. Well, this has been a blast. Thank you again.
Yeah.
And looking forward to hopefully doing this again.
All right.
Bye.
Later.